BRUCAST is back, baby.
This BRUCAST episode is brought to you by the BRUCAST Store. Explore a store filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BRUCAST. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Visit now brew-cast.com/store. Link below.
Back with the fire, can't you see the flames? From Deutschland steps comes the BRUCAST name. Voices like thunder breaking all the chains. Unleash the fury like a runaway train.
Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to another BRUCAST episode. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast recommends to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. BRUCAST also on Instagram, X, and TikTok, where I upload shorts with the highlights of the show. So follow now, BRUCAST on Instagram, X, and TikTok. Links in the description below.
Back here we thrive, we survive.
I'm doing great. How are you?
I think I was muted all the time. Oh my god.
You get a chance to practice again.
So, in case you guys have not heard, I'm gonna repeat the intro, of course. Her name is Doreen Hing. Doreen Hing is a movement expert and founder of the anatomical intelligence method, known as the bone hacker. She helps people overcome pain and unlock their body's full potential through the power of the skeletal system. How about that? Was way better, right?
Third time's a charm.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the interest, for the participation. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for um, make, for inviting me and having me on the show.
Of course, it's a pleasure. So, Doreen, I'm very curious about your journey, and I'm particularly curious to know how you came to be known as the bone hacker. What is that? What do you mean by that?
I know it sounds really painful, hacking bones, but I think of it as hacking, like when you hack a system, you're able to get it to do what you want. So when you hack like when you're hacking a computer system, you infiltrate it with, you download it or upload it, whichever I get confused on the app, with some technology or some information, and the computer does what you want it to do. And so that's what I have developed. I've developed these frameworks which enable the body to do more of the things that you want it to do, because the route which the system which I've used to help you understand what the body is doing is really discovering the hidden power of the skeletal system. Because if you think about it, how much do you know about the skeletal system, or how much have you ever been shown in, if you've ever worked with a personal trainer, or if ever you've been to physical therapy, the amount of information that you know about the bones or the joints is probably where they are, like the location of them. And a little bit, someone may have said, form is important, but maybe not related it to the skeletal system. And maybe somebody has said something like, protect your joints to you, do this exercise to protect your joints. And the conversation of the exercise or the instruction of the exercise is mainly about the muscle group, but it's very little about the actual joint apart from location. And so how I like to think of myself is that am your structural engineer, that comes in and teaches you how to reorganize and feel and have a sensitivity to your joints and bones in real time, like you would with any construction site. The structural engineer is really important. There, you spend a shitload of money on assessing the ground, you spend a shitload of money on building the foundations, you spend a shitload of money on creating foundations that can support load, wind, force, whatever it is, especially counterbalance when it all that sort of stuff. And that's the same for airplanes and fast moving cars or any dynamic object. Yet the human body is a dynamic machine, and we know jack shit about our skeletal system in terms of how to observe it in real time and use it to to either accelerate recovery, and for athletes, use it for peak performance, load, load or force activities, like kicking or landing, all that sort of stuff. Anything to defy gravity. The bones are, the skeletal system makes anywhere up between 14 to 18% of your body mass, and we don't know how to use it in the majority of people. And I'm always continuing to discover new things about it as I investigate it. It's the human body is an amazing machine, and it's just really surprising for me that the musculoskeletal field of science is just practically all muscular. there's very little. There are biomechanics and people who know, chiropractors and who know about the bones, but to use the information strategically in real time, you still go back to the chiropractor after a couple of weeks later after you've had an adjustment. Right? He hasn't taught you how to sustain that expansion, how to notice what to do when your back starts twinging, etc. So yes, there are a lot of people who are in the field of bones and how skeletal awareness, but they're still not teaching you how to use it. So that's why I call myself a hacker, a bone hacker. That's a long-winded excuse, explanation, not excuse.
Yeah, that's
So,
perfect. I really enjoy it. But yeah, I think most people don't think about it because from like it's something that at least for me it's automatic. For example, when I go to the gym, the bones they grew inside of me in a way that they don't bend in a way that will, unless I apply a lot of force, they don't break, right? So as long as they're not broken, why would I have to worry about them?
because unfortunately or fortunately, the way the human body is designed is that the body always follows the path of least resistance. And so to put the skeletal system in the optimal place, you think like, so, for survival, etc., it would always put the bones and the joints in the most optimal place.
Yeah.
But I think part of well, that's just my theory, but part of the human experiences that we're meant to learn. We're meant to adapt. We're meant to, and so, yes, some people have natural talent and the bodies have automatic, optimal movement patterns. But overall, even the most elite athlete who had a natural talent to begin with, there are movement patterns that they have, which that they've grown up with, or because of the way they've been coached in their sport of they've specialized in, they've developed movement patterns, and these will put the bones of the joints most often in the path of least resistance. And so it takes skill and training to put the bones and the joints in the optimal place. So because you don't feel it, it's not it's in you're unconscious about what your bones and joints are doing. And so because you haven't been shown what how it could transform your weightlifting or running, or if you were injured, transform a recovery exercise. You have, when you don't know, you just don't know,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So, and because most movement educators and sports scientists um, don't haven't been shown this in their traditional education, um, they're not really aware of it. So they don't teach it either. So I was hoping somebody would teach it to me, because I didn't train to be a movement educator. I happened upon it by happenstance, and I was getting these crazy results, and for me to keep the information to myself, it just really breaks my heart. Like when my family members can't move properly, I see an athlete with an injury or whatever, and I'm like, I just wish their coaches knew how to help, that they've got like nearly 20%. If you think of an elite athlete, like they're more on the 18, probably 20%. So that's a fifth of their body weight that they're just dragging around and hoping that you're hoping that the muscles that you've worked will put the bones in the right place. But we know what hope does. Hope isn't a strategy, you know. That not for an not especially when you not for an elite athlete, or if you want to recover quickly from an injury. Hope can take you a certain distance, but not not in the time frame you want, more than likely.
Yeah, I mean, if you rely on hope only to be one of the top athlete, I mean, I don't know how far you can go. You need to have the technical skills as well, right? You need to know how to take care of your body and how to recover. And if you know how to recover the joints and the bones, that's even better. You can recover even faster. So,
Yeah. And I
mhm,
just like you to think about this, if you're like an economist or an investor or whatever. Um, so there are almost 200, over 200 bones in the body, and there are over 300 joints in the body. So that's the skeletal system. And there are over 10 known systems that follow the skeletal system. So if you improve one joint by 5%, what that is, like if you compound it over the systems, the 10 known systems, the reproductive, the respiratory, the cardiovascular system, etc., you know, that is 5% to the power of 10, right? So you've
it's a
but then
lot.
if you know that's a shitload.
Yeah.
And then if you can do and then if you improve two or three more joints simultaneously at just like 5% or even less. So that's, I'm not good at math, but three joints with a nominal tweak in them across 10 systems, again, that's a shitload of compounded instant power. So it's more about, yes, it's about knowing what the bones are doing, but it's more about optimize. My program is more about optimizing the joints first and foremost, because they're often our weakest links. So if they're our weakest links, as if you've got a growth mindset, you want to learn about where your weakest links are and challenge them, etc. And so there are lots of exercises to challenge a weak ankle or a weak knee, but it's all done, the information is all done at making you know the thigh muscle, making the quad stronger, you know making the calf stronger, and but without first putting the joint in the right place. So if you always make the quad stronger, then you're going to have a knee mechanism that is stronger on the quad side and maybe not strong on the calf and shin side. But if you put the joint in the right place first, then that will create the foundation for whatever exercise you do to be uh, more thoughtful, more responsive, and more balanced. But I don't like to say the word balance because it's more than balance,
Okay,
but optimized.
optimized, more than balanced. They're
Mm,
optimized.
mm, yeah.
Um, yeah, that's true because it's part of the equation. The joints are there,
Mm,
and people normally it's not the first thing they focus on. And I heard throughout my life several times, oh, the joints are inflamed, right? That's a thing.
mm, mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And so, so if you are, if the joint is in balance, then one, there are a couple of systems that follow the skeletal system, and they could be compromised in
Mm,
terms of removing excess inflammation fluids,
mm,
etc. Because if the knee mechanism is being pulled to the inside of your knee cavity, and it's always, for most people, it's often bent, so the back of the knee is always compressed.
mm,
Um, so so that pathway for the optimal pathway for the fluid, for the inflammatory fluids to move through the joint, um, is compromised. Yeah, you can put ice on it, or you can put your legs up in the air, and it helps a little bit. But again, you know, um, you know, like when I had my really complex ACL, PCL, MCL surgery.
oh, what is that?
Uh, so that's 3 ligaments around the knee. So you often hear of an athlete having an ACL injury, um, but I had three. I had three of the ligaments. There are 4 ligaments in the knee,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and so when I had that done the second time to the same knee, um, because of the techniques that I was complementing my rehab program with, um, my orthopedic surgeon is on the who's on the same sports med team as, I don't know if you know the Patriots. Do you know the New England Patriots?
I
Tom
I
Tom
heard before.
Yeah, Tom Brady. You
Oh,
may have heard of.
I know that name, but I never I heard it from like I know
He's
it's
a
famous.
in America. He's a legend. So
Right on.
he won lots of championships, and to be playing at an elite level, American football. I don't know what age he retired, but he had to be. It was like in his early 40s, he was still playing at the elite level. But anyway, he had um, a simpler ACL surgery, so just one ligament, and he was able to do rehab straight from the get go. Whereas when I had my three ligaments, not only did I have three ligaments, for a month later, I had to have back of the knee surgery. So when you have ACL,
Oh my god.
um, when you have an ACL, front of the knee um, operation, they want you to be doing flexion exercises as soon as possible,
Mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm.
know, bend the knee and all that sort of stuff. But because I had to have back of the knee surgery, so then my leg had to be in extension for a month
Oh my
whilst
gosh.
and so then all that scar tissue from three ligament surgeries was being, had time to thrive on there. And so I'm walking with an extended leg rather than be focusing on trying to, do the flexion exercises. So when the brace came off, so I was not only was I a month, now 2 months behind, just a simple ACL surgery, but then I had all that scar tissue as well. So that was an added complex, um, uh, you know, there was a more complexity added to my surgery. But at 2 months, our mutual orthopedic surgeon said that I was 2 months, no, not 2 months. At 2 months, he said that I was 6 months ahead of his professional athletes. And I asked, is Tom Brady one of your athletes? And he was like, yeah, he just like nodded. Because he's, so, but, to think about it, I can't work on my knee 24/7. I'm not paid to work and do, I don't have hands-on therapists. I don't, I can't go into a hyperbaric chamber or, you know, ice bath, cold bath, red light, whatever it is, all the latest, for him, that which are kind of common, not common yet, they're not common, but they're getting more mainstream. But for him back then, all those really expensive treatments he's doing 24/7.
Hmm.
I'm I don't have those resources. I don't have that time. I go to physical therapy 2 times, maybe 2 times a week, maybe 3 times a week at the beginning of my physical therapy session. But what I am doing is I'm doing the exercises which the physical therapist is doing, but they lack so much bone intelligence, even though they're telling me to level my hip bone or level my shoulders, or it really is, that's just very, you know, bone technology basic. So it's not even basics. I don't know, but it's just very simplified. Like to go inside, like when they give me an exercise and my knee is hurting because of the way they're coaching the exercise, and I know which side of my foot to do to lift my knee up. I know which side of my knee joint to move because the knee mechanism is collapsing. I know what to do in my hip joint area to create sustainable um, protection for my knee whilst I do the exercise that the physical therapist has given me. And they're just telling me to do reps. They give me some base. If you think about it, if you've been to PT, they just tell you to do 10 reps of
Mm-hmm,
this
mm-hmm.
exercise, which is so goddamn boring, etc. Which you do because you have that injury and you want to, the muscles have atrophied and you want to slowly grow them. Um, but there's no critical thinking involved in the whole process. Whereas I'm critically thinking, I'm through every phase of the movement from from contraction to release. It is a little bit like doing. Have you ever done weight exercises really slowly?
Oh yeah, it's
Like,
painful because it's heavy.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's hard work. So I'm doing that not only on the contraction, but on the extension too, right to the and like taking a weight to the full extension.
Mm.
Yeah, because most people just go like, you know,
They go as fast as they
past,
can. They just want to get over
yeah,
with it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And so when you do an exercise slowly, but also do it slowly with skeletal intelligence, it's a completely different way because it makes really boring exercises actually quite interesting because you really are checking in at every like micro second where the bone and the joint is. And when you feel that twinge, because you know you know what to adjust in your hand, you know what to adjust in your shoulder, and you're just like you just go through the movement with such curiosity. Well, that's what I think anyway. That's what I hope. That's why I hope the athletes and anyone who's in physical therapy they become hyper curious about what their body is doing at any given moment.
Yeah,
So
but I mean, those
anyway,
athletes, they should be hyper curious as well. I mean, if you were able to recover 6 months faster than Tom Brady, that's something. There's some knowledge there. Like they should better pay attention. Um, so if
you'd
understood,
like to think,
go ahead, go ahead. Oh yeah, you'd like to
you'd like
think, yeah.
yeah, but then, because sometimes when you are talented, you don't think you need to learn anymore, or that you have the team around you that can that are giving you the exercises and the way to look at skill development or recovery um, in a you know with the most amount of latest um, technology and education and experience. But so sometimes there's a reliance on um, existing paradigms that gets in the way, or or no, existing talent. And although a lot of people say that um, they have a growth mindset and that they are never-ending learners, sometimes they just can't be bothered. I can't be bothered to learn another thing.
But my assumption is like those guys, the top players, right? They already have their system in place. They have all those other coaches. They know what they're doing, so they don't even need to question it. They just go with the flow, you know. And same with that. That's just an assumption, right? And even the coaches and the people around the top players, they already learned their thing at university or whatever, and they're applying, you know. And then comes someone else. Oh, but you need to pay attention to the bone. I was like, uh, lady, let me do my job. You know, like they're not bothered. I'm not saying this is the right approach, like because again, I need to stress that if you're able to recover 6 months faster, that's a lot. That's really they should pay attention to that.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And I think part of it for me was it's only been in the last like year or so that I've really been able that I really was comfortable saying I was a bone hacker,
Mhm.
that I was really comfortable saying that I teach structural, I am your structural engineer. Because I was still, even though I knew, like I have a tagline, check your bones more than your phone, which is what I want people to do. And I wasn't really fully fully embracing it. So it's only been in the last year since I've been doing marketing courses that I'm just like I'm just going to own up to
Mhm.
that I hacked the bones, and I knew that I did. I just didn't articulate it. I articulated it in I don't know, just more complicated ways. I don't know. So
No, but you're doing the right way because I mean the first thing that I asked you was like bone hacker. What do you mean? It's so like it sparks so much curiosity. It's amazing. It's working. Um, but when you say look at your bones or more than look at your phones, like it would be way easier if your bones had like some type of SMS notification that would help us, because that's the thing with you also mentioned people hyper focus on their muscles, and uh, because the muscles, like, it's so easy to see it's growing and it's hurting after the exercise, but the bones, like, how are you gonna feel
You
the
know,
bones? Like, you feel the
yeah.
joints afterwards if you did something wrong, but if you're doing everything right, how you're supposed to feel something? Is that a way?
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
basically what I teach you, how to feel the bones, how to get those
Ah.
SMS notifications that tell you that that they're not cooperating with what you're doing, and how you do know, because you have to, because you learn through the other um, body levels as well. It's a multi-way conversation. So if you've got muscle strain whilst you're trying to lift a weight, or it's not recovering, if you were aware at the bone level what was going on, you could course correct in real time. So for me, if I'm carrying groceries and they're really heavy, and and I start checking in with my bones, often hold on, it's like, if I'm carrying groceries and they're feeling really heavy, often something like this is happening, like my shoulders are rounding and my back is concaving and my rib cage is being compressed. So the moment sort of like I pull my shoulders back and I broaden across my collarbones and across my back body, it starts to put the femur head in the right place. I open up my lungs, my back feels strong. And then, you know, for me, there's a lot more other micro movements that are going on. But if I can lift my shoulders, instead of having the groceries drag my shoulders, drag my boobs, drag everything down by gravity, and sort of like, use the shoulders to pick all the muscles up, pick all the bones up, and resist gravity's effect, then I already look stronger. And carrying groceries, there it become it takes that gravitational pull away if my architecture is being lifted up rather than letting the grocery bags or the weight drag me down. And so there are cues that you learn from what the organs are doing. So if my rib cage is compressed and I can't breathe, oh, what the fuck is going on in my rib cage? Why can't I breathe? Sort of thing. And how do I optimize? And so, like, how do I optimize and lift my rib cage so that my lungs have the most expansiveness, that my heart has the most expansiveness? And I use the heart as a physical muscle too, but also as an emotional. You learn how to um, read the biochemistry too, and I use the heart as a muscle, a physical muscle, but also to sort of like change the biochemistry too. So it's a lot of biofeedback loops, and but once you learn it, it's very simple too. And then um, the next level is just being able to sustain. So what's also important is sustaining the transformation, because often you'll get a new technical skill cue. I don't know if what's your favorite, what sport do you do? Do you have, or do
Oh,
you
I go.
golf?
And I go to the gym, like lift weighting. That's something that I do,
Mhm.
and basketball from time to time.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you often hear a tip or a cue um, to help you with with a jump shot, or with dunking, or with landing, or dribbling, um, and for weightlifting too. You may hear that too, but you forget that tip quite quickly,
Mm.
and then practice makes it muscle memory.
Yeah.
And so, but what I'm saying is, if you learn to feel what the bones are doing in any given moment, um, then then bone memory is such a, once you start feeling it in the body, bone memory is such a uh, it's such a physical thing inside, tangible instrument inside your body, that you can actually feel it more so than your
Really?
muscles.
Really?
Yeah, because like you can, yeah, like when you can feel, like you can feel your elbow more so than you can feel your femur muscles. And not the femur muscle, not femur. Yeah, your forearm muscles. If I ask you to, activate your tibia, fibia, whatever muscles around the elbow joint, it's harder to isolate than actually isolating your elbow. And then if you bang your elbow, you can feel it more so than if you bang a muscle in your forearm or in your upper arm. So you can learn to talk to your skeletal system a lot quicker once you know how to. Then talking, like you've been practicing gym, weight training for, I don't know, 20, 30 years. Can you talk to any of your muscles?
No, and I don't even pay attention. I just do the movement, like the repetitive movement that I've been taught once,
Yeah.
and while listening to music, and that's it.
Yeah. So you actually zone out.
Yeah, yeah. That's not
So,
good.
I mean, it's okay. It's good that you're moving, but for, it depends on your goal. But if you want anatomical intelligence, then it works to zone in and know what you're doing at a muscle and a bone level.
Hmm.
And it's not to say that muscle strengthening isn't good. It's just, to have the bones and the joints optimized just takes everything to the next level.
Yeah.
Have you got anything like near you that you can grab?
Oh, I have
I got a mouse, a cup or something, or your phone.
a cactus. Does that work?
No, I want you to just grab it. Oh yeah, you can use that cactus. You can use that cactus. Hold it out like arm's length, like this. Straight arm. Yeah, hold it out straight arm. And can you feel where your arm is? The arm bones are. And for most people, the arm bone is at the top of the arm, and then all the muscles are dragging down.
Hmm.
But then when you grab the thing, grab it with your, have a strong grip where you're using both sides of your finger, the inside and the outside of the finger. The bone moves into the middle of the arm cavity, and the shoulder is. And then if you relax it, the bones go up to the top and all the muscles dangle. Can you feel that? And then if you grip it, just a relaxed but firm grip, but the whole of the hand, inside finger and outside finger, and you can feel the bone go from the top of the arm to the middle. And it goes into the mid, when the bone goes into the midline in any part of the body, that's where so when you grip onto your weight, if you've got a floppy grip, only half of the arm is being used. So can you feel, so with a relaxed grip, you can feel the bone, I keep calling it the femur, the humerus, and the bones of the forearm. I've forgotten the names at this moment, but they're all at the top of the arm. They're at the top line of the arm. But when you grab it with a relaxed grip, so like a tennis grip or a golf grip, if it's a relaxed grip but a full contact grip, so maybe in basketball, full contact with your hand on the basketball, when you're dribbling, you'll have the bone in the midline. So instead of like if you've got like a floppy hand and you're just very conscious of having you know, the hand like really, all rather than sort of like be one side of the hand, you'll get the bones in the midline. So anyway, I can't help myself but go into teaching mode.
That's amazing. I love it.
Sorry.
And guys, I so for those who are just listening, I was grabbing the cactus the whole time and doing what you said. And I could actually feel, maybe it was, I don't know, it influenced me, but I do believe that I felt it. So is that a thing, like the bones, they move in your forearm?
They move, they whatever is a grounding point
Yeah.
that will influence where the bones are. So for the bones of the legs and the joints of the legs, the initial architecture is influenced by the contact quality of the feet. So if part of your foot in your sneaker has most of the weight distribution, then the muscles will fall to that side of the foot, and so will the bones and the joint. And so the actual strongest part, or the no, it's not the strongest, but has the most influence on the body part is the part that's asleep, the part that's unconscious. Because when if the part of the foot which is weak or has no weight distribution, that's lazy, and it's allowing all the muscles and the connective tissues to fall away and not support the ankle joint or the knee joint or the hip joint. And so it's strong in the fact that it makes the leg weaker. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like the weakest link in a team
Mm-hmm.
is the strongest person in the team.
Oh,
They're holding the team back. They have the most influence on the team. The weakest person in your group, and it's the same with the muscle group. The weakest um, part of a muscle group is the part that isn't biomechanically grounded, because it will influence where the knee joint goes. It will influence where the ankle joint goes.
that's so interesting.
And so what you felt was like when you had a light grip. So see my hand. When you have a light grip, most people's grip goes to the outside edges. If you put your hand on the table now,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you put your hand on the table now, everything you can see, like everything is rolling to the outside edge. So if everything rolls to the outside edge, then all my bones are going to the outside edge. And so when you were lifting something, like, you know, when you were trying to lift something, all the bones go to the top of the arm until you um, counterbalance that, or you course corrected because you didn't want just the top muscles to do all the work. And once you start feeling which side of your arm is doing all the work, you can sort of like figure out which side of your hand needs to come into play. But then there are the other joints too. But the hands and the feet are the main foundations
Mm-hmm.
that you can feel the transformation all the way to the thoracic body once you start learning. And then you can start changing your rib cage and your spine accordingly.
Oh my
But you
gosh.
start I know it sounds like a lot, but it becomes intuitive really quickly once you know it.
Yeah.
That's that that's how I get like people, like really old people who have jack shit about their body. I've helped elite athletes, para athletes who, they have injury lines. They can't move any. They've not um, given any instruction to any part of their body below their injury line, but because of the way I teach them how to recognize what their bones are doing, and how if they change their hip bone, even though they've never spoken to their hip bone before, but I show them how to speak to their hip bone. They can feel it up here, and like in their breath and how they're changing, because I don't want them to just do an exercise in the hip bone and not realize how it impacts their conscious body, and so that they really know that it's not woo woo. I'm not about, you know, I do believe in energetic grounding, the energy from the ground and the magnetic energy and vibrational energy, but I prefer to have tangible um, results. So biomechanical grounding you know is what is where I I like to play more.
It doesn't sound woo woo, not at all. No, I'm serious. And but why we're talking at some point, I said wow, and that's because it's it feels a little bit trippy, right? Because that's not something you pay attention normally, the bones. But once you start doing it, like wow, there's there's a lot that you can pay attention. Doreen, I want to share something with you. I think this past weekend I did Tai Chi for the first time. And during Tai Chi, we had to pay attention to the movements, right? And how the body flows. And you need, like the instructor was saying, oh, now imagine like you're moving your hands over the water and stuff like that. But at any point, I paid attention to my muscles, and now I'm wondering, what if I do the Tai Chi again, paying attention to my muscles? What are the rewards that I can get from this? I know for a fact that Tai Chi helps relaxing the parasympathetic nervous system. It goes back to the
Mhm.
sympathetic nervous system. Would you say that paying attention to the bones would help even more?
Yeah, I actually have a friend who is a Tai Chi and Qigong master,
Really?
and so we get together, and he's also a tennis coach,
Hmm.
and so for him, his lens is energetic move, working with and experiencing energy. I find it hard to experience energy, and and but sort of like he has shown me things where if if I don't know, you do this and you can actually feel the energy, sort of like at the different levels, a little bit like the chakra energies. Um, but he has to show me it. But when I show him the how to use his bones to optimize the skeletal system, you know, he can feel how it enhances that the movement of energy, because like again, you know, when the architecture is optimized, then all things flow. So yeah, so you should definitely play around with um I'm sorry, if can you hear that noise?
Yeah.
Um I don't know if you'll be able to get rid of it in the what's it,
It's a motorboat or
like
something.
something. I know. So sorry about that. Um, but yes, it would definitely help you um, with your Tai Chi, and especially now that you have a little taste of it, you might start to notice it um, and play around with it.
All right. Um, I do have a couple of questions that I noted down during our conversation. Would it be okay if I go through them real quick?
Yes, and I'm going to see if I can
Okay. We
put that motorbike on pause. Hold on a second.
Yeah, yeah, no problem, no problem. So, we will be back in a few seconds, everyone. Let's go to the pause.
Me?
Yes, yes, we're back. Hi.
Okay. I got 10 minutes reprieve. So
I think I
sorry about that.
no problem, no problem. So the few questions that I have are: so what are the joints made of, and can you eat something to help them?
Oh, that I don't know if you can eat anything to help them. I'm not I wouldn't say I wouldn't know about what the joints are specifically made of. I'm more about the biomechanics of the joints.
Nah, that's okay. I not, but now we need to look it up for the listeners. One second. Joints are made of. Let's see if we can see. Joints are complex structures made of several components, so it's a bunch of things. It's not just one. Let's see. It's made bones,
Yeah,
cartilage.
cartilage and ligaments and muscles.
Yeah.
So all of those get optimized using bone technology. You
Mm,
know, the length of the ligaments, the the amount of cartilage. When you have maximum optimal expansion between the joints, you know the cartilage creates that nice cushion, and so creating that little air gap between the joints so that the synovial fluids and uh, and all the nerve endings can um, you know that are around there. They're just like they have freedom to move.
mm-hmm.
One of the coolest things about bones and joints is that are they do they bones have now skeletal system has now been designated as an organ system rather than just a passive structure because they do make hormones, and they do read information and load, and so they transform. They can get bigger and they can shrink. Your bones can atrophy if you don't use them, and so it's really important to do strength exercises, um, so that, you know because the more load that you um, that they are able to carry,
Mm,
then the more um, blood and nutrients that get fed to it as well. And so I thought that was when I first said that bones have memory, um, I was like, you're crazy. But that but the recent science says that there is a conversations occur between the muscles and the bones, and that they are now an organ. They're an organ system.
wow, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was told that there's in with a lot of swear words in between. No, they are not. They're a passive structure, and what the fuck are you saying? And I'm like, well, I once I start to read the bones, I have bone proprioception. I can read them, I can understand them, and then learning that they actually do talk to different systems. I was like, screw you.
but okay, so if you don't use them, they atrophy and then they have memory. Okay, but what about people who have chronic back pain? What's up with that? Are they doing something wrong that we don't know about?
I mean, there are a lot of different things that can cause chronic back pain.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a nerve impingement. It could be, like the spinal, like if you imagine the spine, it's like this round thing, and then it has a thing at the back. They call it the spinal process, and where you know if you imagine it when it's compressed, those spinal processes can touch each other, especially like if you've got someone who's got a really arched lower back. You can imagine that the spinal processes, instead of being separated, go more like that. So they could be either touching each other or touching a nerve. So, and so, so strengthening, so the muscles, so they often say to strengthen the core muscles, to strengthen the back. But if you don't put the spine in the right place, and then you add all these muscles onto a spine that has a compromised shape, it makes it harder. Not only do you embed the negative um, um, postural spine habit, you make it harder to separate,
Mm.
you know, the vertebrae off each other, reorganize the shape of the spinal processes so they're not touching, or if there is nerve impingement, or sometimes like with back pain, sometimes the the disc, um, the vertebrae disc can burst. So there's a lot of
Whoa,
different
my
things
God.
that there's can pop out, and and that causes pain, and then because you're sitting, or if you're doing exertive exercises, you tend to most people when they do exertive exercises tend to stick their butt back and thrust their abdomens forwards, and when you do that, you can feel like you get a little bit of an impingement in your back. But if you're doing that with load, or if you're a runner and you're running, and so you're doing that again with load and force and speed, and you're unconscious of you may have really big muscles, core muscles, but they're not optimized again, because they're just big around a compromised frame.
Damn. I see what you mean.
So,
Yeah.
like it's like putting new windows on a wobbly window frame, or a wobbly, so yeah, the new windows look good, but the frame, it won't sustain it
Yeah. No,
for long.
got it. Oh man, I was expecting like a simple answer. No, all you have to do is just pay attention to your bones when you're I don't know, walking. No, there's a
Well, yeah, it
thousand
is.
of
It
it
is.
is? Okay.
It is as simple as that. Just pay attention to your bones, whether you're walking, sitting. So I like to say, sit with skill, walk with skill, stand with skill, do exercises with skills, and so hopefully when you sleep, a little bit of that skill will carry over into your sleep, sort of thing. So you know, um, yeah. So it is with skill. Everything is with bone intelligence, and you can, um, like a bank account, a little bit hit every time. And the cool thing about when you transform something at the skeletal level and you apply it to lots of little different activities is that that transformation is sustained much longer. Like if you put a band-aid on a window, it's going to collapse at some point. But if you put a solid architecture in, like if you have that's probably a crappy analogy, but but I think you know what I'm saying. Like you can put like a cheap window in, and with a crap frame, and both are gonna fall out. But you can put a really strong frame in with a crap window, and it's that crap window is still gonna be it's gonna last a long time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. If you have the
And then if you
base, if you have the base
yeah
figured out, you're gonna last forever.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you can go from then anything you put on from crap to next level window will last a long time. So yeah.
During this is such an interesting topic. I could go on and on. I do have one more question though.
Okay.
Um, if that's okay. Because you said that we've been talking about the skeletal system, and you need to feel your bones. It's not part of the mainstream, right? So I need to ask you how recent all of those studies on the skeletal system are.
Well, for me, it's been a long. These are use cases for me, which um, I have noticed um, results occurring, um, and the recent papers are in sort of like around. They've been in the last 3 or 4 years
Hmm.
that I've seen papers on bone muscle crosstalk and the skeletal system now being designated as an organ. When I did my yoga teacher training, that was during COVID. Maybe I wasn't looking or whatever, and I didn't really know what to call my system, but I knew I was talking to the bone. So when I presented, you know, for my teacher training, um, you know, my my presentation was about how to do the exercises from a bone level. And although there are practices in yoga that do have some more bone intelligence, I just had a different way of talking about it,
Mm.
and I really and the bone level in the other practices, they were informational, but mine is so hyper focused on the bones. So when I started talking about bone memory, etc., I was kind of poo pooed. So,
No, come
so
on.
it was like, yeah. But even though I had amazing results from people practice, and like for me, it's like I didn't really want to just teach yoga. My I noticed I noticed people who were runners, you know, I just noticed a bigger demographic of people that I could help rather than just people who wanted to do yoga.
Mm.
And um, so, so I'm just digressing a bit, but so I took it from, I evolved it from that 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 practice. And even though my movement education is in yoga, I really wanted everyone has bones, and every practice is can be enhanced or hampered by their bones and their joints. And so I feel like I can make more of an impact. None of my family practice yoga, and I don't want them to be suffering with backaches and
Mm.
mobility issues. Um, and even though they don't really want to listen to me because it's me, um, you know, my goal is that if I, when I get this information out into the mainstream more so, then I can really help the people who are closer to my heart, as well as everyone will be close to my heart when I start helping them. But if they allow me to, but yeah, that's yeah. Uh, I'm not sure if I answered your question.
You did, you did. Doreen, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Very knowledgeable person. You know a lot. I wish we could go on, but thanks so much, guys. Go research more about bones and the bone hacker, Doreen Hing. Thank you so much, Doreen.
Yeah, yeah, and I will be creating an online course, so I'll keep you posted about that when it's ready so that you can check it out for yourself. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask me.
I will. Thank you
I
so much,
hope
Doreen.
your Tai Chi, um, you get those Tai Chi Qigong energy hands or whatever they have.
I definitely will. That's something that I'm also very interested in.
Yeah, I'll be happy to. I'd love to hear about that actually. Anyway, you take care and thanks for this podcast with you.
Thanks
It's
so
been great.
much. It was great. Thank
Bye.
you so much. Bye bye. Alright, everyone, so don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment to in order to I mean, just do it because you're a fan, but then you might also win the giveaway at the end of the month, so don't forget about it. See you next time. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rank the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast is recommended to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. Check out now the BRUCAST store, Explore store, filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BRUCAST. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Buy now at brew-cast.com/store. Again, that's brew-cast.com/store. Link on the description below. Be a BRUCAST model and get free stuff. We'd love to see how you and your loved ones enjoy BRUCAST. Snap a picture of yourself, your family, your friends, or even your pets wearing BRUCAST merch, or watching an episode of the show and send it to us and become part of BRUCAST. We'll feature you and your pictures at the end of every episode, just like the ones you're seeing on the screen right now. You can upload your pictures at brew-cast.com/contact or tag us on social media. Alright everyone, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much and see you next time. Bye bye.